all you need to do.
Hello, everybody. Okay, so we had like varying degrees of internet, or as one of our ex-presidents used to call it, interweb. So I have to apologize. Already liked and shared. Well, thank you ever so much. How is everybody today? Are you all doing marvelously well? I think let's start off. My humidity in my hair. Oh, goodness knows what my hair is. You know, my famous hair. I can see a lot of discussion on the hair today, gone tomorrow. Anyway, yes, it is what it is. Hello. So where is everybody today? Where are you all? And we're going to then we'll start talking about LCR. Hello. We'll start talking about some LCR and some mono stuff. Wisconsin, Middletown, New York. Saskatoon. Hello in Saskatoon. Oh, you watched The Art of Listening? Thank you. I filmed that about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. It took them a while to get it out. You'll notice if you follow me that I've got more equipment since then. You're in the middle of nowhere. I'm going to turn on the AC. Eric is nowhere to be seen, so I'll do it. Sorry about that. We're all going live, so he ran away. Mauricio from Germany. Hello, Mauricio. India. Lovely. North Carolina. Nashville. Gibraltar. Turkey. Pittsburgh. Medellin. The Alps. Stockholm. Lovely. Peterborough. Ah, lovely. Winchester in Virginia. West Virginia. Israel. Beautiful. Nebraska. Austria. Toronto. Cleveland. Adelaide. Wow. Germany. Fantastic. Well, if you're a member of the Academy, you get a massive discount. You get an educational discount on any Lewitt mics. Is Eric late again? Actually, Eric was actually here a couple of minutes early. We're doing a video. We're going to do a video on this iRig keyboard. You guys know it? It's like a 49 key keyboard, but it's 129 bucks. So, you know, it all just sounds normal. The thing is it's got a mic pre-built into it. So it's kind of a game changer for guys like me and probably a lot of you, because you're going to be able to like turn up, you know, wherever you want, because it takes batteries, and just plug it into your iOS device if you happen to use an iPhone or an iPad, but a laptop, whatever, and plug your microphone into it. So suddenly everything is all in one. I thought that was pretty nifty because, you know, Steve uses a 2i2 and a keyboard, and total he spent about $400 or $500 to get what this does for $129. So Steve Magora, those of you that follow us will know, is a keyboard player I use a lot. So we're going to shoot a video with him opening it up from a box and writing and recording a song in like an hour. You know, so you'll get to see one of those kind of things, you know, that we like to do. So yes, we're giving away courses, Matt says. Is that a mess on the table? Yes, there is some pedals, there's some headphones, there's a bottle of water. I think Eric now will probably go on and clean it up a little bit. He's looking all rather embarrassed. So yeah, it's kind of a cool keyboard, Hadley, you're right. Okay, so let's talk some LCR and mono. It's interesting because there's lots of really cool videos with lots and lots of high views out there talking about this kind of stuff. And I wanted to address what we talked about yesterday, which is like, it's a little genre based, and nothing is absolute. So it's not just about genres, but it's definitely about what is best for your song. I know a couple of people that only mix LCR, but I have personally found that the secret is to understand why you mix in LCR and why you mix in mono. And if you understand those two principles, then you'll be able to employ what works best for what song and what the genre is. That's the great thing. It's not just about making a video where it sounds like, you know, like a scary point, only mixing mono, or to me it's like, I know those get high views because they're more, you know, what's the word, like banner headlines or clickbaity kind of thing. The reality is that you'll find that all the major mixers you're talking about, you know, and we talked about them yesterday, Crystal Algae, Michael Brower, Serban, Mark Endert, Andy Wallace, all of those guys mix somewhat LCR and then a little bit outside of it. So, and none of them ever mix in mono, but they will always check in mono. Mono is your friend. Mono is your friend to go over, in this case, on the console over here, you know, and hit a mono button here, or in your DAW, you know, you can hit a mono. It's a wonderful thing to do. So I highly recommend it. You know, so it's really that. It's like, make sure that you get the best of all things and understand it. And as Walker is saying, please like and share. And Bob says, where do I get my energy? Well, I did manage to get about 6 hours sleep last night, and I do have a cold and a little bit of a lung thing going on. And you know what? You just have to deal with it. Renier says, you didn't clean the table, you just moved everything around. Yeah, I did catch a bit of a bug. My wife was in Poland for a couple of weeks. She just got back. And my kids have been at school and also catching things, of course. Okay. Martin says, I found LCR interesting when mixing drums. Mono checking is new to me, but it's been an enlightening experience. It has improved my mixes 100%. Yes. Mono is very revealing. I think that if you only mix in mono, you're sort of adding, and you want to end up in stereo, you're actually adding a little bit more time to your mix. If you mix the way you want to hear things and then check in mono, it is a lot more effective way of mixing. So basically, get your guitar sounds, get your bass, your kicks and snare the way you want to hear it, and then check in mono, reference in mono, and then go, okay, some cancellation, then figure out what it is. If you mix entirely in mono, what might happen, one of the problems is, and I showed this yesterday, is that when you take your heavy guitars, so for instance, it doesn't have to be heavy guitars, it could be acoustics, it could be whatever. If you take them and you fold them into the middle, you might find that you're battling the brightness between the high end on the acoustics with the snare, and when you pan them away, your snare or your snare might suddenly sound too bright because, you know, it's just one of those things. You need to mix in the way that you want to hear it finally, but always be checking in mono. Then of course LCR is your friend, because I do believe strongly, unless you're going for something super artsy, the kick drum, the bass drum as we like to call it in England and Britain, is the bass drum down the middle, the bass guitar down the middle, and the vocal down the middle. And the snare, of course, always feel and sound the best. Now, don't get me wrong, we could have a 4-hour debate on, yes, but what about this song or that song? Of course, you could have, somebody asked me yesterday about 2 drum kits. You could do 2 drum kits. It does get difficult when kick drums start to flam. You lose the low end, you lose the direction. And as I said underneath yesterday's video, and if you haven't yet, please check out yesterday's video. Good question. Are you in Lucas? Lucas, are you in Poland? Should be Łukasz. But anyway, so as we were saying about in yesterday's video, which please check out so you can get a little bit more information, and please download the cheat sheet, which Matt is about to put up here, and hopefully already has underneath. So there's some great questions coming in. I'm going to address a handful of these because they're really, really good. Having a hard time widening during chorus, and my verses feel wide enough and can't feel much of a difference between the verse and the chorus width. Do you change width and overheads, reverbs and effects? Great question, Max. That's from Max Holton Anderson. Really good question. Okay, so what I would do is I would strip down your verses. It doesn't have to be, I don't know what kind of genre you're doing, but if we just do basic rock as an example, if you've got kick, bass guitar, snare and vocal, and one other melody / harmony instrument like a piano or an acoustic guitar, maybe you can have 1 or 2 melody / harmony rhythmic instrument, you know, piano, acoustic guitar, 50-50 sitting around the vocal nicely. Then when your chorus comes in, you can double your acoustics. So suddenly you have that one that was at 50, now goes full 100, the double of it comes in, immediately you've got width and you've got a lift. The piano could do the same thing. It could be mono, and then it could either go, you could keep it in mono, or you could double it up with another piano part. Typically, I would just keep it in mono. But again, maybe some rakes, some electric rakes, you know, taking every single one of the chords. So, you know, like a, nicely out of tune guitar. I'm going to grab an acoustic, which hopefully won't be out of tune. So when we're talking, because it's not always just about mixing. Working in LCR and everything we're talking about is not always just about mixing. It's also about producing. That's why it's called Produce Like a Pro. So let's just say your verse part is like a. Just a 2 chord, 1/4 CF. So that's your verse part. When you come to the chorus, it might just, maybe it's the same groove, maybe it's still a 1/4. So you could just double, so you've got one on each side going. So suddenly that doubles and it goes wide. Next thing you can do is take an electric and just. What I'll typically do is I'll have a rake electric on either side. Doesn't have to be that loud if you don't want to take away the acoustic feel. It's a production thing, just have that underneath. Put a little delay on it like Tim Pierce does, and I like to do. We'll make it, we'll stop the chord from dying off too quickly, because it'll be little delay on it. Then you could take the reverb of the left hand electric and pan it to the right. Then you could take the right hand guitar and take that reverb and pan it to the left. That will give you extra width. Stuff like that. You could also do that with your acoustics. You've got your. So you've got your acoustic going now, the reverb of it, quietly, but the reverb can be panned full 50-50, and then when it comes to chorus, goes full left, full right. The second guitar comes in. It's stuff like that. So sometimes it's not always in the mix, it's in the production. And very often, and I'm open about this, when people give me stuff to mix, I'll add things if I don't believe what their production has added, made the mix better. It's part of my job. Now, if you don't feel confident in doing that, talk to the artist. Be honest. Talk to the producer. Talk to the engineer. Just say, hey, you know, sometimes, put it this way, sometimes people give me things where they give me like 5 electric guitars in a chorus. So they have like a, like this guitar going like that. Then they might have a rake, but then maybe you have 1 rake. And I'm like, I don't want a mono rake down the middle. So what I'll do is I'll go to chorus 2, and I'll take the chorus 2 guitars and fly them to chorus 1 and then pan them wide. Things like that are subtle. You're not replaying them, but you're making the chorus better. You've gone full left, full right on that, and you've taken that, you know, from the second chorus. When you do that, you'll get the width. And to be honest, they probably won't notice or care. All that matters is it better? You know, have you made the mix better? Okay, good questions here. Paul's asking a question about drums when it comes to LCR. You're very welcome, Max. So as far as LCR on drums, this is a tough one for me, because when I grew up in England, specifically in Britain, but in England, I remember, you know, working in studios in London as a musician. And even, you know, when I did a session as a kid with Andy Jackson, you know, I talk about a lot, because even though he probably doesn't remember me, I remember him very well, because in comes this guy who's the Pink Floyd, you know, producer and engineer, with my now friend Louise Goffin, and he comes in and he records drums with 4 microphones. He came in and he used our D12 on the kick, a 57 on the snare, and then he brought in his own pair of U87s as overheads. And that was the drum sound. And it was fantastic. It was on a Louise Goffin track. Girl Ann Dorsey was playing bass. It was in our 24 track, 1-inch MSR, Tascam NSR studio. And it was the best drum sound I'd ever heard in that room. Notice, no hi-hat mic. So the overheads were picking it up. So, when it came to the mix, he had his left and right overheads panned. They picked up all of the drum fills, all of the toms. They picked up the hi-hat, and of course they picked up an overall feel of the kit. That was all he used. And I was obviously blown away, completely mystified. So it is interesting when it comes to LCR. You could do that. So technically it's LCR, but think about this. when you're stereo miking something, it's not LCR. You're all looking at me or listening to me going, what is he talking about? Well, stereo miking a drum kit, whether it be room mics or in this case overheads, is not going to create the hi-hat all the way over to the right or the left, or the rack all the way over to the right or left, or the floor. You get what I'm saying. It just creates stereo imagery. So for me personally, I believe that LCR is kind of the wrong way of describing how you do drums. Because you're never going to have, well, you can, and I've heard mixes, but you're never going to have the hi-hat only on one side. You're never, although I've heard exceptions, going to have only the rack on one side and only the floor on the other side. I've never heard, with a handful of exceptions, I've never heard it that way. So LCR on drums is kind of a little bit of a, you know, I think one of the best albums I can think of to illustrate some of what we're talking about, some of the way that people use stereo in an extreme way, is to go and listen to Californication by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Highly suggest you check out that album. You know, Californication is a drum sound which is overhead stereo, bit of room mic stereo, with incredibly mono instruments. Not entirely, but incredibly mono. So you've got like bass, vocals, and guitars like this, and then drums like that. It is remarkable how different that sounds to what we're used to on the radio now. It's crazy to listen to it. Remember, that album was massively successful. So I would really think seriously about what I was telling about what David Foster said to me. When, yeah, it's mostly in mono. When you think, Johnny, he doesn't mix, Chris does not mix drums LCR because he can't. Like I said, if you pan your overheads left and right and your room mic's overhead, all right, they're not LCR, they're not, you know what I mean? It's like, the tom is still going to be 20%. It's left, center, right. The tom is still going to be 20% of, to the side of the snare, and the floor is still going to be like 60 or 70% over to the other side. I've been in the room. You can tell me. I can tell you what it's like in a room sitting next while mixing. It doesn't go rack floor, hat 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 hat. It goes rack floor, hat 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 hat. It sounds like an actual drum kit. He does an amazing job of making drums sit there. I can text him if you like. No, honestly, it's not. This is part of the discussion, is when people say things like they're absolutes. So LCR is kind of an interesting thing because it's like, it's a little bit of a misnomer because it's confusing. It's confusing because of the sort of disinformation and misinformation out there. The way that this works really, really well, and it's really important for us to remember, is like knowing when to use these techniques to get the best things out of it, you know? That's what it's about. So when do you use LCR? You use LCR specifically for centering the center stuff and then creating width on the guitars and creating width on anything that you want to make it feel like, you know, it has, you know, unbelievable width, not so much width, but depth, you know. Oh, I love my acoustic. I love my Yamaha acoustic. Okay, good question from Alex here. How do widening plugins work? Phasing Voodoo. Yes. Widening plugins are a difficult one for me. When they're inside of a dense mix, I can get away with it. Because I was answering a question earlier on yesterday's video about synths and stereo keyboards. See, there's somebody bringing in that. Those, yeah, only mono sources can be panned LCR. See, that's what Mike's saying. That's what we're talking about when it comes down to like overheads and room mics and stuff. So that's what's important to remember. So yes, please, I don't know where some of the misinformation or disinformation comes from, but we have to be careful. When you're talking about stereo sources, they can't be LCR'd. Anyway, so going back to what you were just talking about there, with widening plugins, we have to be careful. We have to be careful that widening plugins will manipulate phase predominantly. So what they do is they start cancelling out the center. And the easiest thing to cancel out is some of those like low ends. So things tend to get a little thinner and a little wider. They can also delay it slightly. So what I tend to do is I will use a widening effect on some of my keyboards and sometimes strings and pads just to get them out of the way of the center. But I personally don't like using those MS techniques or those widening things when it's the only instrument there. I wouldn't do it on a piano if it was a piano vocal, because honestly it would make me feel dizzy, because I'd be sitting there and this piano is sort of like super wide and like, you know, it's not a good way of doing it. You know what I mean? But I will get away with it when I've got dense guitars around it. You know, phase is a very important thing to understand. Polarity is very, very important. That's why we monitor in mono, to make sure that. Okay, the Revolution will be mono. They use widening plugins for orchestra and stuff like that. Depends how it's recorded. If the orchestra's not recorded with any stereo width, then yes, definitely. That's probably, I mean, you don't necessarily have to use a widening, we don't necessarily have to use a widening software if it's recorded so that it has a lot of width. It sounds like some of the samples you're using are narrow and they disappear. So it's really another thing to do if it's already wide enough, is to maybe use another verb on it that kind of makes it feel bigger still. There's lots of different effects. Different delay times on each side can also do that as well, make things feel bigger. It's not always the widening stuff, but when I do use it, like I said, I put it in a dense thing. Hello there in Russia. Okay, so I'm looking at my phone. So what I would like to do is I'd like to do our first giveaway. So yesterday, the track we were using was mixed by me and Ulrich Wild. Liverpool or Real Madrid? I'm English. What do you think? So I grew up watching Ian Rush and Kenny Dalglish. Huge Kenny Dalglish fan. So I'm definitely going to be rooting for Liverpool now. It's going to be a tough game though. It's going to be a very tough game. Okay, so let's do a giveaway. So yesterday's was video, which I hope you've watched or you're going to watch. Please watch it. First of all, I'd like you to do one thing. I'd like you to like and share the video. And then we can enter to win this lovely Snakebite video. They're a Polish rock band. Ulrich and I both mixed the track. I produced the song. I cut the drums at Hybrid Studios for those of you that have watched the Hybrid Studio video. I highly recommend, which I'm hoping along with that Matt will probably put somewhere there so you can check it out. And we also did the breakdown of how I recorded the drums there. So I have watched the Bohemian Rhapsody trailer already. I woke up this morning and watched it first thing. I watched it on Brian May's own Instagram feed, being a huge Brian May fan, of course. All right, so the question is, let's talk about rock music for a second then, seeing as that's a rock track. What do you think is, all right, here's a good one. What do you think is the biggest, widest, massivest sounding song of all time? What's the song that you put on even today and just go, wow, that is so massive. It's so wide, it's so huge, it's got so much depth. For you, what is the song that blows you away? And we will pick somebody that I really want to know. What is the song? Because I have songs that I'm just like, wow, that is so massive. What's the one? What's the production that just absolutely scares the schnizzle out of you? And you're just like, this is a masterpiece. Bullet for My Valentine. It's a nice one. Very nice. Hey Bulldog. Breathe by Pink Floyd. That's a good one. Time. Another masterpiece. U2. Not in Love, 10cc. That's a wonderful choice. Highway to Hell. Zombie Wolf by Zappa. That's a great one. Pink Floyd, The Wall. I have to agree with you on them. People love Hello. Kashmir. Not in Love. Back in Black, AC/DC. All Right Now. I'm Not in Love's, which is fantastic. Wish You Were Here, Pink Floyd, another great one. Some Rammstein, Helter Skelter, Whole Lot of Love. Oni by Radiohead. Doobies, No More Tears, Ozzy. American Idiot. Kiss, Rock and Roll All Night. Boulevard of Broken Dreams. Asylum by Ken Scott, that's a good one. Supertramp, yeah. Some Aerosmith, Radiohead. Yeah, Blues, great one. Enter Sandman. I was wondering if Metallica came up, because the thing about Metallica is when they first came out, it was insane how big that sounded for the time. I think now We Will Rock You. I have checked Sawyer's microphones. Steve Wilson, Osric Tentacles, Bohemian Rhapsody every time, good choice. Death on Two Legs. Wow, the first time I heard Death on Two Legs, whoo, blew my head off. I was 8 years old. Stairway to Heaven, Woman in Chains, masterpiece. Nice choices on Queen. King Cruel, Shazam, Blur. All right, it's been chosen. Chris Ritchie. Hey, what did Chris Ritchie choose? What did you choose, Chris? And you just won the course from yesterday, so you're going to see Ulrich Wild and I both mixing the song that I produced. I have to be honest. I mean, obviously, Night of the Opera is a soundscape masterpiece of stuff going on. Guitar parts, you know, keys, vocals, you name it. It's insane, and arguably top 5 greatest album of all time. You know, depending on which day it is. Absolute, complete, and utter masterpiece. However, there were some good ones that come up. I was actually happy to see the Metallica one, because I think that's important to remember. I tease Eric all the time because he's a Metallica fan, but when that stuff came out, it was groundbreaking. It was groundbreaking, you know? I think it's important to remember that. And especially once, you know, they discovered how to write, you know, more hooky songs. I mean, they brought the whole thing together. We cannot underestimate how important that band was. There were some other great ones in there. Oh, that came up a lot and was definitely and more than an honourable mention is I'm Not in Love. I'm Not in Love is an ear candy. What I liked, and this is a massive Hotel California, Smith's How Soon Is Now, great one. What I like here, what I'm absolutely loving here, and you all have to pat yourself on the back, is that not many of you went for just like wall of EDM or metal guitars. There was a lot of taste here. Now, the reason why I say that is because there's sort of an illusion that if everything is limited to pieces, then it's bigger. Like Peter Gabriel's So. Oh, I know, Brian Mayak, it just sounds just like Brian. Peter Gabriel's So. These are fantastic. Stephen Wilson, obviously really wonderfully talented. Jonathan as well. There's like so much... these are all really, really great, wonderful ideas, and it's heartwarming to see. You know, it's heartwarming to see that everybody here has really freaking good taste. You know, Black Album's a masterpiece. I agree. I think everybody thinks that. Tom Waits, yeah, just really, really good stuff. This is really heartwarming to see. I am rather Wish You Were Here. Yeah, great stuff. Exactly. Metallica went from being the band that nobody liked. Then the Black Album came out, and then everybody's a Metallica fan. I mean, I remember that vividly. You know, I remember having Ride the Lightning. I remember all of that stuff. I like to tease Eric because I like to tease him, but you know, there was a time that Metallica was really, you know, was the cutting edge rock music. I don't think he was born then. What year were you born? Were you born when Ride the Lightning came out? Was that 87?
94, so...
You're born in 94, so no. So they were already a classic rock band to him.
Yeah.
He wasn't even born when Ride the Lightning came out. Anyway, so let's shout it out loud. Okay, cool. So we've basically only Hendrix, yeah. Metal Machine music. Oh yeah, that's an insane one. insane album. You know, my friend Dick Wagner worked on that record, and of course worked on, yeah, anyway. All right, so let's get back to LCR and mono. So we've done a lot of LCR discussions, and we've ascertained that even mixers that say, or people think they mix an LCR, don't truly mix an LCR once they start using overhead mics and any keyboard sounds that are recorded in stereo. There's and I've had, you know, and obviously we started off a little bit of a debate here because, you know, people were insisting, or somebody was insisting that Chris mixes an LCR. And the reality is like he would do with guitars and he would do with bass and kick and snare and vocals, but anything stereo, especially overheads and room mics, are not going to be like left hand or right hand tom, floor, you know, toms or hi-hat or cymbals. They are going to feel like they are somewhat in the middle of the stereo spectrum. So the reality is for me is understand the benefits of LCR and you will be a better mixer. Understand that if you go and you use it to immediately create width, your choruses are going to get bigger, and you can also make it a little bit more dense. Because when you have like instruments that are slightly tilted either side of the vocal, the snare and the bass and the kick, if they're only tilted, once you add another instrument in there, it's crowding the space of the middle. If you get it completely out of the way of the middle, as far left or right as you can add a little bit more to those sides. So you can have like, you know, like I say, a chugging. And then when the chorus comes in, it can be like, you know, like a underneath that. So you get what I'm saying. You've got the ability to be able to add more to a chorus when you're in a 50-50 and then use the LCR right. So Zach again is asking, a couple of people, I'll quickly go back to that myself. All the kids are stealing your bandwidth, I'm sorry. So yes, going back to that, yes, the MS techniques and the widening and stuff, I'm very, very careful about them. I can get away with manipulating stereo sources like keyboards, etc., and maybe strings, and occasionally using them to widen around, get them out of the way of the center. But I can't do it personally, cannot do it when they are the only thing sitting there in the mix. It's really difficult because like if I've got a vocal and a piano that's had this MS technique and this widening applied to it, I'm just sitting there with the headphones all like getting all dizzy because the left and the right are like out of phase of each other, and I'm like, what's going on here? And for me, phase is very, I'm very sensitive to it. And the more you do this, the more you will get sensitive to it. When I picked up a guitar, for instance, I couldn't hear those two notes out of tune like that. I wasn't one of those guys that picked up a guitar and was like, oh, I've never played guitar before. What's this, a blues scale? That wasn't me. I was like, oh, in fact, more like, that was how I played guitar. And I sucked, and I was awful. And there was a kid at my school called John Hill, and who's still a very good friend of mine, many years later. And he picked up a guitar and went, oh, I like this band AC/DC, and went, and I was, and it really beat me up. And some people it just comes to. Anita says that's how she plays guitar now. My point is, and there was a good blog I read the other day, and I don't remember who it is, so I apologize who wrote the blog. But and I like talking about this all the time. I don't believe in any of this natural talent kind of stuff. You know what I mean? For me, it's all like work your butt off. If you want to be good, I'm blessed to come from a very artistic background, i.e. my father was a painter and loved classical music. So I was surrounded by classical music and I was surrounded by great art. That was a blessing, and it encouraged me to do the arts. But the reality is that's the only advantage I had. Just a father who was very supportive of me playing music. That was it. So being a supportive parent and having supporting parents is a definite advantage, especially ones that, like my father, who helped build my first guitar like Brian May did with his dad. My father did the same thing. was basically because we were dirt poor and we couldn't afford to buy one. Might have been Brian as well. My friend started playing at 4. He's naturally talented. It's probably got a lot to do with the fact, Alex, that he started playing at 4. You need to read Outliers. If my kids started playing chords now, my daughter's 3, by the time she's 14, she would be like... She's a sponge at that age. You know, and I think people want, you know, there was a really, this contentious blog, and I love this. The contentious blog really annoys people because we want to believe in luck and we want to believe in natural talent, because then our failings, our inability to stick at something, you know, is then suddenly like, oh, that's just because. Bear in mind, I play guitar every single day of. It's not hard to say. I don't agree. It's not old nature versus nurture. Don't agree. It's disproven by everybody. But it's something, Alex, that we want to believe in. You know, we do. We want to believe in it. We want to believe that the reason why this person is see, we got. So you think I'm naturally talented? You know, you think all of this came? I'm telling you, I was the worst guitar player. Yeah, you get in the work that you put in. Yeah, I just sat there 6 to 8 hours a day going. And I get blisters on my finger and bleeding and all this kind of stuff. I think the only way you can ever have a commentary about this is to have gone through it and come out the other side. But yes, definitely highly recommend Outliers, Malcolm Gladwell. Highly recommend it. Believe in it 100%. You know. These are really super heavy strings, but I like them. But you know, it's like I was tone deaf, Jim. Couldn't hear notes in tune. Couldn't hear them at all. I had to train my ear, and it was a lot of work. And many people around me gave up, and I just kept going and kept going. Hello, Terry. Black belt martial artists are the white belts that don't give up. Yes, I agree. But I think, you know, it's the human condition. We want to pretend that, you know, guys just pick up a guitar, or a girl just picks up a guitar and suddenly they're a genius. And, oh, well, I'm not a genius, you know, because of that. I really do believe in hard work. I think if you have arthritis, you know, I have a couple of friends that have arthritis that are guitar players, and they have to work around it. But you can do it. I think people people can learn faster. Here is the thing. This is what's good about the 10,000 hours. If you've ever done that in life, and this is really good. If you happen to have the ability, let's just say you went to school and you loved math, and you ended up doing maths all the time, and you got so good at it, you can take that ability and that ability that you have to learn and apply it to anything. That is the reality. It's a work ethic and an understanding how to focus. Some people have never done that. They've never ever put themselves into something where they've learned something so well that they can apply that ability to other things. It's a very clear ability that you acquire by working really hard. If you go and you learn your instrument, drums, bass, guitars, and you get to be a virtuoso of it, you can take that information and you can take that learning process you have and do it for anything in life. That is a really important skill. Many people have never done that. They've never done that with anything. They've never done it. But you can take somebody like Lewis Hamilton, who's the greatest racing driver in the world, and you could teach him guitar because he understands how to focus. So he'll pick up a guitar and he won't go, oh, this hurts. I don't know if he plays guitar. Thank you, Chris, for agreeing. Yeah, you can teach yourself to learn. And he will go, and Lewis will go, okay, I know that I did something slowly. I learned to do this. Or I pushed myself past a boundary and I'll push it past it. I played guitar when I was a kid until my hands got so painful and I had so many blisters. I actually played through the pain, and I found this weird plateau that after 6 hours of playing stuff, it actually, your body just gives up and just sends circulation and everything to your hand because it feels like it's probably dying or something. I have no idea what's going on. And I would find that I could go through a point of pain and come out the other side. And that's something, you know, that's something that all Olympians will tell you, that they practice through the point of pain and they go through the other side. So that's what it is. Most people will never experience that. They'll never push themselves in any one field. But yeah, Lewis rocks. Yeah, well, Lewis is amazing. Lewis is the new world. All right, so back to LCR. Do we have any LCR questions? My fingers still hurt, and I've been playing for 30 years. Minivan Flyer, can you call my name out? Just did it. Same years of Guitar Man for me an ear for scales. Started playing, just couldn't put the guitar down, first got me worried. All right, so we did this amazing course with for Snakebite. I went and recorded the drums at Hybrid. You can watch that video. I did Miniman Fly, I already did it. So I just thought it was funny to call you that. Anyway, so we did this drum recording there, and then we did a course where Ulrich mixed the song and I mixed the song. And what I did on Monday is I talked about LCR and I showed how the heavy guitars, the kick, the bass, and the vocals were all coming out the center. And like, you know, so the heavy guitars were left and right and everything else was coming out the center. We were talking about how that works. So LCR, for somebody's asking again, is left, center, right. And it is a system where I believe if you use it constructively, you'll be able to take the methodology and use it to create width in your mixes. You know, I think it's really, really important to apply that and understand where it's going. Anyway, so let us do another giveaway. If you haven't already, please like and share. That would be absolutely fantastic if you could like and share. I don't know. My wife is texting me. I'm going onto the YouTube, as Steve Carell would call it. So we have 308 people watching. Thank you. We have 194 likes. Could you please like and share? And now we're going to do a giveaway. So please, first of all, like it, share it if you can. And our next giveaway is we're going to give away this course again. So for this lovely course, we've already talked about what you think is the biggest, widest songs, the things that impress you. And I was very, very excited and very, very heartwarmed by the fact that it wasn't a bunch of like heavy metal. There was a lot of good rock in there, but there was a lot of really, really super amazing like width going on. So it was really, really cool. Very, very impressed. What I'd like you to do then, we talked about that. How about this? Can you think about this? Is there any mono recordings? One of two things. Mono recordings, and not only mono, but like maybe simple recordings, like hardly any panning. Something that blows you away, that is like so stripped down, so minimal, that doesn't use super wide panning. Because we talked about Californication, so you could pick any song from that album. But things that are the other way around, thank you, Andrew, things that are the other way around that are the opposite. Is there something, this is a really good topic, find me songs that you believe are really, really unique without using tricks, without using bang, big guitar, huge wide. That's what I want to hear. Stuff that's just as amazing without that. I see a Bright Eyes. Robert Johnson, Charlie Parker. Oh, Elf. Anita, you have wonderful taste. Salisbury Hill. My friend Dick played guitar on that. God rest his soul. I want to give you guys a bit of a, guys and girls, a little precursor. We're going to be putting out a course where all of the profits are going to go to St. Jude's Children's Hospital. All of the profits. And it's going to be absolutely amazing. It's got Danny from Chicago playing drums. It's got Leland Sklar playing bass. It's got Elliot Easton from the Cars playing guitar. It's got Jennifer Batten, Michael Jackson's guitar player, playing guitar. It's got the original singer Grand Funk Railroad on it. It's absolutely freaking amazing. And look out for that. It's going to be absolutely incredible. Just saw some people mentioning some of the bands there. Tomorrow Never Knows. That's a great one. Take one. My Generation. That's a really good one. Just dumb, rock, simple. Any Gentle Giant will blow me away. Hey Jude's another good one. I think Hey Jude is a production masterpiece, though. It's still somewhat good one. Neil Young, Penny Lane, more Hey Jude, early Beatles, Zeppelin No Quarter, Scorpions is good ones. What about a song? Give me a song. Give me something like somebody said Hello. Jennifer is fantastic. Lena's amazing. Oh, Black Sabbath, good one. Andrew Huang, yeah. Buddy Holly, good one. Ain't No Sunshine When She's Gone, great one. Kind of Blue, masterpiece, great choice. I Can See for Miles, Molly Singer by The Who, that's a great one. Rubber Soul, yeah. Yeah, I know, it's more of a stumping, isn't it, Adam? To think of something very simple. Very Needle and Damage Done. Oh, yes. No voice at the moment. I was coughing all night. Damage done, a little part of it in everyone, but every chunk is like a setting sun. You really got me? How's it go? The Van Halen way, or the Kinks way. Doors' first album, masterpiece. Blackbird, no spread. She's the one. What's he playing? I was playing Needle and the Damage Done. See the needle and the damage done. A little heart, part of it in everyone. But every chunk is like a setting sun. When the levee breaks. I'm still looking for something really super simple. Sound of Silence, Eastbound and Down. Skyline, Neil Young, Stargazer, I'm Looking Through You, Alice in Chains. I think that's big. Carole King, Tapestry, whole album of simplicity and beautiful songs. Really wonderful. Michelle, Ramones, simple, Crossroads, yeah. Love, You're So Vain. All right, Matt, you going to choose a winner? What's that one Nirvana song? There's quite a few, Heart-Shaped Books. Have you all liked and shared? And we're going to choose. Yeah, I love Needle and Damage Done, hence why I just played through it like a fool. So please like and share. And Matt, if he's still with us, is he with us? I haven't seen him. Okay, we'll choose a winner. In Bloom, yeah, could be that. I think we lost Matt. Anyway. All right, so is he responding to you?
Yeah, I'm trying to get him to.
Yay, he's here. He chose a winner. Philip Morris for winning today's giveaway. Yay. We still have, what are we making here, John? John Gabriel Figueroa. What we are doing is we are talking LCR and mono. We did quite a lot of LCR stuff. We broke down some illusions that people believe that every mixer mixes LCR. Even the LCR mixers aren't really mixing LCR because if they're using overheads in stereo or room mics in stereo, then they are using panning that's supplied by those overheads or those room mics. Also, any stereo instrument can't necessarily be made LCR unless you cancel out the middle. So yes, Phil Morris, you won. So let's talk about mono. Okay, we did a lot of LCR conversations. Now with mono, it's completely interesting because mono is a trick and an understanding of something we should definitely all be using. You should always be, like I do, lean over and hit that mono switch. I don't know if you can see it lighting up. It's very faint. You need to sit there because you need to hear. You need to hear when. You need to hear when there be phase cancellation, particularly in the low end. That happens really easily and really quickly. And also, like we were talking about with heavy guitars, for instance, or big fat synths or big pianos, if they've got a lot of information 200 hertz and below, what's going to happen is they're going to feel multi-directional, omnidirectional, whatever you want to call it. They're not going to feel like they're coming centered. Wrong. They are going to feel like they're coming centered. They're not going to feel like they're coming out the left and the right. So a lot of big mixers, I noticed from Neil Avron, when he was mixing some Aerosmith tracks I'd recorded, I noticed that he took about 200 and below out of the guitars. And he let the bass guitar carry that. It made the guitars feel very heavy left and right. Where you start getting 200 build up underneath, you'll find that it just feels mono. So if you want the extreme width, then you take that those low mids, and make sure that they are those low end, not even the low mid. Sorry, you take that low end and make sure that it is removed from your guitars. So I think that. I think what's important to remember is like when you're working in mono, is like when you're working in mono, you want to use that as a constant reference point. Like I said, there are a handful of people, I hear a lot of people, there are a lot of people that work, most people I know don't work in mono at all. They just reference in mono. However, there are people that have hit me back and said, "Oh, I like working in mono," but they are kind of the exception to the rule. However, when I was working with Dave Sardi, there was another engineer on the project called Greg Gordon, and he had done, I believe, a Pantera record that Rick Rubin had done. And what he did is he went to go, I may have told you this story before for those who are watching, he went to go and check the mix in mono. So he leans over to the console, which was probably a knee, hit the mono switch, and Rick was sitting in the back of the room doing his, hadn't said anything all day kind of thing, hits the mono switch and goes, "What's that?" And Greg goes, "Oh, I just put it into mono." And Rick goes, "I like it. Keep it in mono." So they ended up mixing the whole album in mono. There is a thing with some genres, there's a directness of listening in mono. Everything just comes out full frontal. So I think that there is definitely places for it, and I have no illusions that you shouldn't mix in mono. I'm just letting you know that you need to understand all of the different tools at our disposal and use what is best for the job. So fully understanding LCR is really going to help you. It's going to help you understand that you want certain things in the center, and then knowing that mono can also produce like some directness, and then LCR can produce the width. So you need to learn these two things. That's why we did the video yesterday on both the subjects. Highly recommend you go back and check it out. Please download the cheat sheet. By the way, Matt, could you please put up? Mono means no panning whatsoever. Exactly. Well, if there's lots of phasing issues, you have to identify them. It's like, if it's multiple mics, then quite often, if you can't move the phase, mute them. What I ended up doing, I was working with Dave Sardi on the Towers of London record, and I don't remember who had produced it, but they had 5 different sources on every amp. So they had like a close mic, a far mic, well, 2 different close mics, a far mic, a room mic, a this mic, a that mic. And no matter what we did and we panned it around, it just sounded like there was no direct tones. So there you go. There's the cheat sheet. So if you haven't already, please download it. I think it was a whole album, a whole Pantera record. I don't remember. Don't honestly remember. It may have actually been Anthrax. I can't remember. I'm blanking. I'm really sorry. But anyway, it's just the point of the story is like there's records that have been mixed specifically in mono because of that. So if you haven't already, go and see there's the thing around here. Download the cheat sheet. download it, and it's reiterating what we're talking about. So yeah, as far as the phase issues, let's get back to that. You have to identify them. So the reason why I was talking about that Towers of London records, we mixed it on a Neve, and I sat there and I started listening to all these different mics, and they had condensers, they had ribbon mics, they had 57, but they were all in different positions, maybe on different speakers. Who knows who recorded it? I can't remember. I sort of can remember, but I don't want to trash talk them. You know, them not being very good at recording is not something that they probably want the world to know. It's not fair to have an opinion, because like one person's good recording as another person's amazing and bad and whatever. You know what I mean? It's too opinionated. That's a problem with our industry. But the reality is that we couldn't get any pair of mics to be in phase. So I just muted everything except for, you guessed it, a 57. So it's a long answer, but sometimes you just have to find the best phase solution. Yeah, exactly. Brett just said, pick the mic you like, and then, you know, pick the mic you like, and then just mute the rest. That's the reality. You know, if you just want to do that, then just do that. Wouldn't that thin out the stereo mix possibly? No, because if you've got phase issues, you're thinning out the stereo mix because you've got 5 guitars that are all slightly out of phase with each other, and all the low end is being cancelled out. You know what I mean? Of course you, L. Harrison, of course you can pan the mono track. That's the whole point. That's what we're saying about LCR. It only works with mono tracks. As soon as you have stereo sources where the imagery is between like 0 and 100 and panned all over the place, a stereo miking, it's not true LCR. So that's why when people say, you know, this mixer or that mixer mixes in LCR, it's like, well, they don't really, because they're using stereo imagery of the drums and stereo imagery. Even their reverbs on their snares are stereo. They're not just coming out mono. So this is what's important. So yes, no, it won't. What'll end up happening, how to identify phase issues? Well, basically, go to mono. If you go to mono and your guitars disappear, or your backgrounds disappear, or something disappears, you've got phase issues. You've got complete cancellation. What will happen is there's some stock Logic sounds, like there's a bass sound, like a super wide one, and all it is the exact same bass sound on left and right, flipped phase. So you only hear it in the left and right speakers, and you don't feel anything in the middle. Put that in mono, the bass disappears. You will not be able to print that to vinyl. If you try to put that on vinyl, the stylus would just go boom. Favourite London recording studio is no longer around, the Townhouse, by far. In fact, anybody who's ever worked at the Townhouse would tell you that's the best studio in London and does not exist anymore. That's where they did so many amazing XTC records, who are, for those of you who know, one of my favourite bands ever. Great to see you here. So, let's do our last giveaway. Matt, are you here? Are you available? Okay, so we've done your favourite wide mix. We've done your favourite mono-sounding simplistic mix. What can we do now? What can be the question here? And you have to answer and tell me, and you have to stay on to find out who won. And please, of course, like and share if you haven't already. That would be absolutely amazing. It's the only way YouTube lets people know that we're online, as if they like and share it. What should we ask? LCR mono. All right. Here's the silly one. What is the best piece of recording information, best piece recording tip or trick that you have learned? What is the best thing that you have learned? What is it? Like you heard something, or you witnessed something in a studio and you were like, wow, that is amazing, that is life-changing. What is the best piece of information you've learned? High pass filter. Yep, that's a good one. Use your ears. Yes. Mic placement. Music related, Jamie, but that was nice. Don't stand up in a canoe. Make it sound good in the room. Acoustic, mic placement. EQ is your friend. Never clean your cymbals. Low, resonant filter kick. Check phase before grabbing an EQ. Keep it simple, yes. Get it right at the source, yes. High pass filtering, high pass and low filtering. Not sure about the top down mixing. Mic in a bucket, headroom. Song is king. Learn your monitors, learn your rooms, yeah. Mute automation, yes. Use your ears, there's no rules. Same distance between overheads and snare, yes, absolutely, Fernando. Less can be more. Room mics, make the drummer play loud while setting levels, yes. Get compression right. Use your ears, close your eyes. Know how to balance. Song is king. Practice your instrument. Use high-pass filters. Good stuff. I'm glad that message is getting through. Yes, use your high-pass filters properly. Subtractive EQ for bass recording, blah, blah, blah. Phase. Don't be afraid to use boost on EQ. There's too much emphasis on the subtractive stuff, which is very live recordings. Most of my live friends, you know, some of my best friends are like Matt Butcher, one of the best live mixers in the world, mixes the Gorillaz and Blur and a bunch of other stuff. That subtractive versus addictive, you know, I don't agree with that. Most of when you go and sit behind a console and you see all the biggest mixers in the world, there's a lot of boosting EQ, especially boosting EQ into compression. That's a huge part of the sound. They are boosting, especially brightness. They'll go bright. Like on an SSL, it's hard for you to see here, but you see this yellow light? You probably can't see it, but that is channel out. And what does that do? It makes the EQ go into the compressor. That's a big part of the sound of an SSL. So thank you. That's very nice of you, 57 Bluesy. Don't rely on the grid. Yeah, creativity is king. So that's subtractive stuff, you know what I mean? Great one. Doesn't matter what you know, just don't stop. I agree. So the subtractive stuff is definitely important. Yeah, pull out stuff that's ugly and all this kind of stuff. But remember, a lot of the sound that you love is that sound of the EQ hitting that compression. So it's all about, it's like when we talk about LCR and we're talking about mono and we're talking about subtractive versus addictive. I don't mind us having these conversations because I think they're good, but we have to remember all of these ideas are relevant. It's not that mono mixing is the best. It's not that LCR mixing is the best. It's about understanding and putting it all together. And, you know, knowing that using a bit of the LCR techniques, a bit of the mono understanding for checking, a bit of boosting EQ into compression, and also subtractive to get rid of problems. You don't use boosting EQ to get rid of a problem. You use subtractive to remove an issue. If you have like a beep frequency, you go in there, you find it, you pull it out. If you want the vocal to be brighter, you don't remove the bottom end initially. You boost the overall brightness of it, put it into a compressor, squash it back, and everything will feel brighter. That understanding is really, really important. It's not, subtractive EQ is very, very live mixing, but even then, the big live mixers will boost the schnizzle out of stuff. In the same way that Neil Avron or Chris or Michael will sit there and boost EQ. So I know, and the Michael B, best one, there are no experts. That's the point. Take breaks. Practice, yes. There's a 5 EQ tips video. If you haven't already, check out our thing. So what we're doing at the moment is we're doing these week-long kind of video things, and tomorrow we're going to do a little competition for you, a little giveaway, and we're going to pick, what mixers should we pick? Eric, live on air. Let's choose them. I suppose we could do Eric. We could do Eric Ulrich. We could do Ulrich Snakebite and me Snakebite talking about panning, and we can show the panning of the guitars. We could do that. So we could take a snippet of each of those courses, and maybe we take one of Bob's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So we're going to do that tomorrow. So tomorrow you're going to see a video on panning techniques. So we're going to pick up all the panning. So, and we're also going to be giving away, what do you reckon, Matt? Ultimate Rock bundles? Matt's going to say something. We'll definitely do the Snakebite and maybe the Bob. So we'll do a giveaway tomorrow, and we're going to be talking more about panning. And then Thursday we'll come back. No, those giveaways are on YouTube. Says Bonner says, my weakness is EQ have helped me immensely with before and after compression. Great. What a good laugh. Then watch this later with the sound off. Some interesting reading. Oh, I'm sure. I know. Take advice from Warren about agenda. Without an agenda. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, there is no agenda. Let's just help each other. Get the vocalist mix right. Very, very good. Yeah, I think that $500 sweet spot on the condensers is my favorite place. Experiment, document a lot. Yep, great. High and low pass. All right, fantastic. This has been a wonderful one. Before you all go, would you all like and share? There's 295 people watching. This is thank you very much. Would you please like it? That would be absolutely amazing. And come back tomorrow. Check out yesterday's video. Please download the cheat sheet, which Matt is going to put up again now, aren't you, Matt? The cheat sheet. So put that back up. And we do recording sessions in progress. If you go to Facebook, we do some live stuff there quite often. And also there's a production course with Bob Horn and Eric Rikers, which I highly recommend. So God bless America. Have a marvelous time recording and mixing, everybody. Matt will eventually put up that cheat sheet again, and it will be underneath the video. There it is. There's the cheat sheet. So if you haven't already, please download the cheat sheet. Thank you, everybody. No, it's fun. I wonder why you're having trouble downloading it. It's so small. It's just a PDF. When I clicked on it earlier, it just downloads immediately. Sorry, did you hear that? Okay, have a marvelous time recording and mixing. And I'll speak to you all again very soon. We'll be back on Thursday. Tomorrow we have a video using some different mixers showing their techniques. And it's going to be absolutely amazing. And on Thursday we'll be back talking about it. And of course Friday we've got another Fact Friday. Have a marvelous time recording and mixing, and I'll speak to you all again very, very soon.